All right, the case for the LA Rams. We mentioned how they didn't play really a full game in any of those three playoff ones. On the other hand, they had some of the most dominant stretches of any team we saw in the playoffs in every game. Basically the Cards game until it was done. The first half against Tampa, and then the last half against San Francisco when they were down 10, and it felt like they were going to come back. Somehow I didn't hedge my Niners NFC bet. But it's a little reminiscent of Tampa last year, right? When we rode them where
got hot.
They got hot and they have some big blue chip guys and they're all healthy and they all started playing well at the same time. And all of a sudden you're seeing the finished version of a team that we watched for 4 straight months wondering what were they? You know, think about before the playoffs, we were like, Cards, Rams, what is this game?
Yeah.
But how do we know what we're getting out of this? Now I think we have a better sense of the Rams. Stafford's throwing for 9.1 per pass in the playoffs. That's
pretty
not
good.
Nothing. Kupp and Beckham are at 622 yards and 5 TDs combined.
Dude, I broke it down today on Good Morning Football. Kupp is like 5 catches back, 3 touchdowns back, and maybe 100 yards back from Larry Fitzgerald's 2008 postseason. And we're not even talking about it. And then there's Odell, who's also having an awesome postseason. Larry went 30 catches, 550 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Kupp is already right there, but Larry didn't win the chip. Like, if Cooper Kupp goes off on Sunday, he's not only going to have the greatest regular season we've ever seen from a receiver, potentially the greatest postseason ever. And Odell was Johnny on the spot and was awesome against the 49ers on Sunday.
So, and this is why I've changed on the Rams a little bit. The Odell thing I did not see coming. And there's really good stats about how open he's getting in these games and what a weapon he is, especially when the other team's so worried about Kupp. But I didn't see the Odell thing coming at all. I thought I was dead wrong on that. I honestly thought it was a blame thing with Baker and Cleveland, and it was like, oh, you can blame that, but we've seen this in sports too many times where it's like, no, it's this other guy's fault. And it's like, maybe it's you. You haven't been good in 5 years. Yeah. But he looks like 2016 Odell again.
Looks great. And I was very skeptical because Sean was interested in him in 2017 when he was on the Giants, and then they make the trade to Cleveland and whatever, missed out. But they got to know each other out in LA in the off seasons, and like McVay's always been a fan of him. And then when they brought him in, I was hesitant because I was in New York during the downfall of Odell there, and then in Cleveland, the guys in Cleveland are like, no, this is terrible. His dad is posting videos like, who wants this? And then he gets to like, dude, he's been not only like the perfect teammate, he's been like a leader in the locker room, all these things that are, that he's been accused of not being, and he's completely bought in. Now, he's a free agent after this, and maybe he sees this as not only a chance to get a ring, but also a chance to get one more big deal. And here's this window. But they knew they had to get him the ball early in some of these games just to get him his going. And then like now he's completely locked in. He's literally the number 2 option on the offense. And he's been great in the locker room. Great. So,
well, they've also done, we've talked about this on previous pods. They've done a nice job of watering the plant with him too.
Get him involved.
Get him plays, let him throw the wide receiver option pass. We see this in sports. We see this in football and basketball, and sometimes in baseball, but really in football and basketball. These guys, the quote unquote head cases, they're difficult, whatever, in their early to mid 20s. But then when you hit your late 20s, you're a little older. Maybe you don't have maybe as much of whatever in you that you did when you're getting set off when you're 24. You're not handling things. You're just a little more mature. And sometimes those guys are good bets. We've seen it in basketball a lot. Like Rasheed Wallace was the all-time example of that when the Pistons got him. But we've seen that a lot over the years. Chris Webber when he went to the Kings.
Yeah.
These really talented guys who just had to kind of get a little older. And I wonder with Beckham, I think he's been awesome in these playoffs. Like rooting against them in that Niners game, I felt like the Niners couldn't cover him. And we know they couldn't cover Kupp. And I think if you're making the case for the Rams, which goes to the case for the Rams, 2 uncoverable receivers is a nice place to start. I'm with you. The Higbee thing sucks. More stuff. Well, Kupp, obviously the best offensive player in the league.
Dude, that NFC Championship game.
That's ridiculous. When they know they're going to him and he's getting the ball anyway. 11
catches, 7 of them on third down, 6 of them were converted for first downs, 2 touchdowns. And it was from all varieties. Like everyone in the building knows on third down, it's going to Cooper Kupp. And Stafford and him have such a connection that he can do it. I was talking to D'Angelo Hall today, and he's like, what Kupp does, he's got like such a shimmy to him that like he really is so deceptive in his, not deceptively fast because he's a white receiver or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Deceptively, just he'll shake you out of your boots at the line of scrimmage. And then the next play, he'll block you on a run and he'll knock your ass down. He's quietly and like he's a 220-pound receiver who will hit you and then he'll burn you on a route that you're not expecting. So what he's doing and what he and Stafford have going on right now, it is legendary stuff. And
well, you know what else is crazy about it? He doesn't take the hits that Debo takes.
Right.
And some of these other guys.
He avoids it, right?
When do we ever see him getting like just over the middle, just getting crushed because he didn't know the safety was there? He's always in space. Even when he's getting tackled, it always feels like he didn't take a big hit. Like if he was a car, I feel like he would have the least miles on him out of any star receiver. All these other guys take big punishment. McVay versus Taylor, I think, is an advantage for the Rams. I'm sorry. The home game stuff we mentioned. The Rams pass rush versus the weak Cincy O-line we mentioned. The Rams rush defense, which in 3 playoff games, 52 for 162, they've given up. Nobody's running them at all.
Nope. And that's with a Niners team that was supposed to impose their will. Elijah Mitchell couldn't get it going. Debo couldn't get it going. I'll just add one more thing here. Aaron Donald is a man possessed right now.
That was my last one. The best player alive argument for Aaron Donald.
Let's start it because you go and then I'll finish because I mean,
that's it. It's just like that's one of the post-win narratives we come out of this and it's like Aaron Donald's the best player in football. And maybe Cooper Kupp might be second.
Honestly, so Donald doesn't talk a lot. Like I've been around this team. I did their preseason games for them for years. And like, he's a nice guy, but like it's a one-word conversation. And the media has wanted to make Aaron Donald into something for the last 8 years. He doesn't do it. Like Hard Knocks tried the first time they did the Rams and it was like, he was playing ping pong. Like this guy's crazy. He's hilarious. And like Donald is all ball. He's all work. And the only things you get from him are these amazing workout videos, whether he's doing it with knives or he's jumping into pools. Like Aaron Andrews was fantastic in the NFC Championship game, characterizing why him revving up the sideline was so unique. He doesn't do that. He's not that guy. On that defense, he is not nearly the leader of some of those other guys as far as vocal getting going. But at that moment, when they needed him most, he was the one firing them up. And all this week, he has been in that building, I'm told, has been a man possessed. And he said it in the media availability on Monday. And I never thought he would actually go there because he's not one of these retrospective guys, not one of these inward guys that talks like this. But he's like, I have done everything an individual can do in an NFL career except win a Super Bowl. And when he put it that way, I'm like, oh shit. Like,
well, when he
gets it.
When they showed that video of him firing up the huddle, and I had my Niners NFC bet, and I was just like, oh no. Like if he's going to be possessed, if he's going to be going 40 years back, movie reference, but Fast Times in Ridgemont High, Forrest Whitaker after his car gets messed up.
The car, sure.
If we're going to go to that level with Aaron Donald, I don't feel good about my Jimmy G pick. And as it turned out. So post-win narratives, that would be one of the biggest ones. Aaron Donald would go down as one of the best football players ever if they win a Super Bowl with him. I think he would. Because you think like, and there's been a lot of top 100 stuff and, it's so hard to compare the guys against different eras, but there's like certain things we can agree on where it's like LT was the best defensive player of all time. Jerry Rice was the best wide receiver of all time. Tom Brady was the best quarterback of all time. Like there's some standards you can, once you get into offensive linemen and who's the third best receiver of all time. Now we can really start arguing. We can start arguing. Whatever conversation, whatever like the small exclusive club is for the greatest, Donald moves in there if he has an awesome game and they win the Super Bowl.
All right, let's do one here. If you had to pick 3 defensive players, let's say front 7, I'm going probably LT, Reggie White, Aaron Donald. And that's
Reggie White's. I'm glad you brought him up because he felt so impactful in the 90s.
Right.
I remember when the Pats were trying to beat them in the Super Bowl and he was getting oxygen on the sideline in the third quarter. I was watching with a bunch of Pats fans.
And then he tossed. Then he
tossed the Russian is cut. Yeah,
that right tackle got tossed on that one. Yeah.
Oh my God, it did. It turned out it didn't matter, and the oxygen worked. But yeah, Reggie White is a good one. I think he's up there. I think Ray Lewis is up there for me.
Yeah, Bruce Smith.
Yeah, Bruce would be on the level below for me, especially because he never won the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Ed Reed as a safety. I think if we're going that direction, but yeah, Donald, just week to week, year to year, he's so clearly the best guy. And now to add this,
so he's 29 years old, Bill. When you hear a guy who's 29 now, he's played 8 years in the league, and he says that, or he's like, I've done it all except this. I mean, isn't that a self-awareness that is not usually seen from a player that young? We usually get that at 34, 35. Reggie White might have been in his early 30s, but it took him on that second run with the Packers to be like, after the Eagles years, like, I need this. I think that they play for him too. Like, they want it for Donald also. I'm getting a little bit like, intangible, sentimental. I'm not talking X's and O's here. The dude is a freak X's and O's as well. Like, he's doing things that affect the game on every single play, even if he doesn't get the stats. And this Cincinnati offensive line, as much as they found a way to scotch tape it, has been pretty shitty at points this season, and has been really bad against front sevens like the Rams. And we saw Jeffrey Simmons eat, and we saw Dupree eat, and D'Amico Autry and all those guys in Tennessee. Gosh, this could be the game that Aaron Donald has 4 sacks and is, dancing in the end zone in the first half with a touchdown, and the game's over already.
Well, you saw how the odds dropped for him too, because he was like 50-1 on, I think, all over the place for MVP, and now it's like 16-1 to 12-1, depending on where you are.
I didn't see that. I love it.
Yeah, I remember, when we were at Grantland, we had Robert Mays, who worked with us, then worked with us at the Ringer too. In that first year when Donald came in, and he was just going nuts. And that was, Twitter had kind of evolved with some of the clips. And I remember him being the first guy on defense that kind of became a Twitter guy with some of the shit he was doing. Where it was like, watch Aaron Donald just go through 2 guys and sack the quarterback. Watch Aaron Donald come around the end and this quarterback, and it felt a little LT-ish, and it has this whole time. But you're right. He's going to be, he's 30 years old now.
30.
You'd figure this is as good as he's ever going to be, right? I don't think there's a level up at this point. This is it. He's at his apex, and this will be the last piece. A couple other post-win narratives. Just the Rams are back. LA football is a success. Goodell gets a win. We'd get all that. Think about like the odyssey of LA football, and then like all the gambles that tie into that, where the Super Bowl stadium that cost $2 billion more than they thought. The fact that they, that almost fell through. There were competing groups. Bob Iger was involved at one point. You have that. You have Kroenke going all in. Like, not that people care about owners, but it was a really big gamble to even on the St. Louis lawsuit, which they now had to settle for a ton of money.
$790 million lawsuit was just settled this season and not talked about. Yeah.
Not talked about. We just talked about it now. Stafford trade, huge gamble.
Huge.
Odell signing, huge gamble. If that goes the wrong way, that could have killed the locker room. And then the fact that they created this new strategy of, we don't need first round picks, traded them for Jalen Ramsey, that one too. So,
they have 3 like core tenets to build it. So what they say, and they call it, and I'm going to F them picks is what it is. And that's, they've all gotten their own coffee mugs that they drink from, and it's a picture of Les Snead's face, and it says F them picks. And the truth of the matter is, it hasn't just been this year. They traded picks for Sammy Watkins, for Aqib Talib, for Marcus Peters, and every time they're done, it's Brandon Cooks, and Austin Corbett. Like, all these guys have been picks they traded away. But this year particularly, Stafford, Von Miller, Sony Michel. And, people roll their eyes and they're like, oh, but those guys that do that, and it's Les Snead, the GM, it's Tony Pastors, who does the salary cap, and then there's a whole front office that's around those guys. They believe in that. But the key is, they do have picks from rounds 3 to 7 every year. And they've had the second most draft picks. They've had 45 draft picks since McVay joined the team from rounds total. And from rounds 3 to 7, they've drafted Kupp. They've picked up guys like Henderson. They get the guys at value when they do draft. So that's the one part. The other part is, their coaching staff has been absolutely rated over the last few years. Right. It's been rated again. An eighth of the league right now are McVay former assistants as head coaches, because you're going to add O'Connell and to LaFleur, to Taylor and Brandon Staley. But even the coordinators, like Shane Waldron was the offensive coordinator last year. He's in Seattle. Wade Phillips goes on. Okay, Brandon Staley, he's gone. We got to replace him. Raheem Morris comes in. But all these assistants go elsewhere, and yet they find a way to reload the coaching staff. And the last thing is, they all buy in. They all want to be there. So like, Odell comes in as a number 2. He has to eat that and be like, I'm going to be a number 2. Cooper Kupp has to be like, all right, yeah, this guy, Odell Beckham, is going to now join my historic season. They all buy in, and it's kind of refreshing that it is a dream team, but there does seem to be a lack of egos individually, and it starts with McVay, and it trickles right on down.
Jalen Ramsey being right all along, getting out of Jacksonville.
Everyone shit on that trade.
Fun narrative.
Everyone shit on that trade. Do you know who they traded for that? Eventually, it was Kaylavon Chason and CJ Henderson for Jalen Ramsey. I don't know. And everyone was like, what are the Rams doing? Jalen's not going to want to sign an extension. Jalen called. It was the greatest trade. Like they value the player.
Now we have half of the NBA superstars pulling the Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
Somehow the Lions lose again. I think it's another narrative. Their guy Stafford. I've been there. I remember when Bork won with Colorado, how brutal that was in Boston when we just felt like we were never going to win again. Now you have the Lions who've never even made a Super Bowl.
I know.
And then they have to watch Stafford.
1957, they won a championship. That's the last time they've even been to this far. It's interesting because I said on air, I'm like, I don't feel like Lions fans are them. I think the Bork analogy is a good one. Like, didn't go to a rival, went to another team. He served his time here, and like you said, you root him on. Like that's it. Yeah. And it was cool. Mic'd up on the NFL Films had him mic'd up when they played the Lions, and like it was this little moment in like the third quarter, and it was a close game. And he's talking to the young defensive backs, and he's like, "You guys are playing hard. I love seeing it. Like you guys, I've been watching the tape, and they're just talking with him. They still revere him. So all his ex-teammates, whether it be Calvin Johnson, who we spoke with today on Good Morning Football, or Nate Burleson, who's one of my former colleagues, but I talk to him every day. They love Stafford. I think aside from Sue, who I don't even know if that was just in the game, I can't name you one former teammate that has a negative thing to say about Matthew Stafford. So it's one of those deals where it's like even Lions fans are like, all right, okay, I can root for this guy.
Well, then like what, second week after the Super Bowl, is Stafford a Hall of Famer show you'll have?
You'll have
that's like day 10 of probably of arguments.
And don't worry, we are working the entire next week. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
We will do the Stafford Hall of Fame talk, and I'll put his Super Bowl rings right up next to Rodgers, right up next to Marino, right up next to Breeze, right next to Fouts, Warren Moon, and I'll be like, what hasn't he done that they have? And there we go.
Right.
Thank you.
And then that turns into does everybody who throws for 40,000 career yards make the Hall of Fame? Where do we draw the line? Yeah, and then the McVay thing too. And the McVay getting his pants pulled down by Belichick and having some revenge a couple years later is a fun one too, because he got out coached. He's talked about it. He's been pretty open about, I got worked by the best coach ever. And here's what I learned. It's almost like you see this with boxers, right? Like my guy, Sugar Ray Leonard loses to Duran in Montreal and learned some valuable lessons, fought Duran again, changed his style. And it turned out to be the best loss he ever had. So you wonder if that happened with McVay.